Welcome back to the program. Now, power supply will be disrupted in many parts of Lagos this week as the Eko Electricity Distribution Company announced a 5-day outage. Company spokesperson Godwin Idemudia says that the forced power cut is designed to address maintenance issues at a transmission station. Now, Ikoyi, Victoria Island, parts of Lagos Island, they're all expected to be affected anywhere between Wednesday to Sunday. Now, the company is promising full supplies will be restored as soon as the maintenance is successfully completed. Right, and obviously a 5-day blackout is a pretty big deal. Let's find out exactly what's going on. Deji Badmus joins us now live from Lagos with more details on this. Deji, 5 days, really long time to be completely in the dark. What exactly caused this? Is this long delayed maintenance that wasn't done, or is there some major problem along the fault lines? What's going on?
Well, Rama, quite funny you say this is a very long time. 5 days is actually not a long time, at least not in Nigeria where, you know, we're used to not having public power supply for a very long time. In fact, this is not even as serious as what we had with one of the distribution companies here a couple of months ago. In that case, the blackout was actually for 1 month, and it was the same reason that I was giving. The reason being that that the transmission company wants to carry out maintenance work now on the transmission line. For a very long time now, the transmission line has not been maintained. So it's just for the maintenance now. It's not a routine maintenance because it's not as if this happens all the time. It hasn't happened for a long time, and that is why you're having this 5-day period. But to be candid, Rama, it's not as if people will really miss not having public power supply for that period of time, for 5 days, because this area of Lagos we're talking about, virtually all the companies that operate in that area, because it's a central business district anyway, all of them run on generators. And in most cases, most of the companies operating there actually run on generators, and they have you know, public power supply on standby. As a matter of fact, some of them, even when there's public power supply, they do not trust it because they know it can go off at any time. They still use their generators. So it's not as if people miss so much, to be candid. Rama?
Indeed. It's a fascinating example you're giving there, Deji. 5 days without power in some countries will lead to riots. But let's focus on what you've just mentioned. A lot of companies do tend to have their own electricity supply. So when an announcement like this comes on, what happens? Do they tend to buy up a lot more diesel to stockpile, assuming that perhaps it might be actually worse than they expect?
Now, to answer that question, let me just explain. Part of the problem is that, especially with gas supply now, is that, you know, virtually everybody in the chain, how do I put it now? Is it the electricity, not just the distribution chain now, but everybody operating in the power sector is owing virtually everybody. It starts with the distribution companies especially. Most of them are owing the generation companies. They call them the GENCOs. And now these GENCOs actually supply the power. They generate the power, supply the powers to the distribution companies through a company called NBED, that's the Nigeria Bulk Electricity Trader, that buys these powers, the power now from the GENCOs and sells to the distribution companies. Now the distribution companies are owing the GENCOs because the distribution companies are saying, well, consumers are not paying as much as they should pay and the tariff is low. And now this generation companies too are owing the gas producing companies. I mean, you need gas to fire the turbines. We have quite a number of turbines in this country, but most of them are idle because you don't have gas to power them. I mean, it's just like your normal generator operating. And now if you do not have fuel to run that generator, there's just no way that generator would work. So that is part of the problem. And then there's also the problem with the transmission line, outdated, antiquated, and they need maintenance. As we speak today, Rama, even if Nigeria was to do, we understand we actually have capacity to generate around 12,000 megawatts, but in reality, we can actually not transmit that 12,000. The capacity we have to transmit is between 3,000 and 5,000. So even if we were doing 12,000 today, we just would not be able to transmit. So there's just no way people would be able to use them. So our transmission facilities will definitely have to be upgraded, which is what, well, the authorities say they're trying to do now.
Indeed. Let's focus in on that. The country, of course, is looking for about $5 billion in debt from the World Bank to improve power generation and, of course, improve the transmission and distribution grids. Tell us more about that.
Well, now, what the government is trying, what the country is actually trying to do is to improve generation. And of course, the country is trying also to improve transmission. For instance, not quite long ago, the government decided to inject around 700 billion naira now into that the power sector. Don't forget that the power sector in this country has been privatized, with the exception of transmission, which is still under the control of the government. So the money that the government actually wants from the World Bank is actually, you know, to basically to improve decay infrastructure. I mean, this infrastructure have been there for ages. They've not been upgraded. Some of them are actually dead. Transmission lines are just not up to scratch. So all these are the things now that the government says it wants to do with that money. But especially, most importantly, is to help generation companies now to generate enough. Because, as I said before, there are challenges because they are actually not reaping their investment. They are not making as much money as they had thought they were going to make. Investment in that sector has been very low, so they are not making new investments. Some of them are indebted to local banks here to the tunes of billions of naira. What the government is trying to do with this loan is to revamp that sector and get it up and running so that you know, Nigeria can meet its target. The target is that that's what this government promised anyway, that by 2019 or thereabout, we should be able to generate somewhere around 12 to 13,000 megawatts of electricity.
Indeed. We'll have to leave you there for the time being. Fascinating conversation. Thank you for that, Deji.